Ranger sold his wardrobe. The Lone Ranger sold his bad dog. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know, 'cause times change, I know.
On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say. On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say.
Come along, join the fun, in a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up, Twitch? What up, Larry? What up, Thunderblaze? What up, Ryan? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's your boy. What does it say that the ad on the way in that I got was for Tron? One of two possible things. One, that targeted advertising actually works now. Or two, that Tron is just dropping and everybody gets Tron. Because I got Tron on a completely unrelated channel. What up, Stampy? You want some snacks? Get started right at the beginning of the show with the snack train. Give everybody a view of your back. Show them the face. Show them the goods, kid. I hope everyone is having a enjoyable Friday. Well, there you go. So, advertising worked, Larry. Advertising worked. It is Friday for some. I had off yesterday, so I worked the next 3 days. So, I don't technically get a Friday. I get 3 on, 4 on. You squitches, work squitches. He's a chunky boy. This is a chunky boy. Get the squitcher right at the tail. So yeah. Our top story tonight, Francisco Franco is still dead. Let's see. We've got a bunch of shit to get through, and then we'll see what's left over for tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for another episode. Can I keep the microphone in my face, sir? Balance yourself, big kitty. And then we'll also it's looking more and more likely that we'll also be doing an episode Sunday night at 6 p.m. And then Monday might be doing an episode earlier in the day because I have off then too. Weekend streamer this week. All right. You want to take over? The host? The hostess? You want to be the host? All right. Enough adorableness. Let's get to the AI. First up, her new robot moves the needle on AI tattooing.
It starts with analysis via a QR code of sorts. A mechanical arm pushes a needle into your skin.
So we're performing calibration dots.
There are lasers.
We tattoo them at different points, and then we analyze them.
This is AI-fueled tattooing.
What comes to mind when I say AI and tattooing?
Sci-fi,
mixed with reality. It just doesn't do it for me.
This weird disconnect, I feel like, from the humanity of all of this.
It lacks personality.
But one of New York's hottest tattooers
not to be mean, but of all the people, it lacks personality. I'm sure he's a wonderful. Did you break my shit, dude? Check. Motherfuck bucket. Stampy! You laugh, but now I gotta get new monitors. I like to monitor in my left ear or in my right ear. Check. I don't think it's working at all. Oh, cool. He just yanked the end out of the microphone. Check. Perfect. Hey. No one has to be destroyed just like that. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm getting too much money. Thank you, Larry. What up, Pharaoh? Cats. Never a dull moment with cats. What up, Naughty Fox?
seems ready to embrace it.
I don't see it as rebranding or redefining tattooing. I think of it as a tool.
Bang Bang and his...
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
What up, Raiders? What up, Torchy? What up, Crix? What up, Crit Red? What up, Got Punk? What up, Joint Specialist? What up, Agrica? What up, Textilian? What up, James? What up, Iggy? What up, Big Ben? What up, Timmers? What up, Ben One Eye? What up, Digital? What up, Quiet One? What up, Becca? What up, Cicero? What up, One Great Earth? What up, Elron? Hero of my own free will. Well, welcome in, free Willians, free Willikers. If you don't know me somehow, at this point, I'm Globus the Elder, and I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. What up, Bark Eater J? And that's what I do. And, you know, maybe take a break from all the other news that you're getting and do some other, and yes, I am also the person who says, just smoke the weed, kids. So now you know, if you didn't know already, that I am that guy. I'm him. What up, Chef? Challenge accepted. So, yeah, I'm going to shout you out, James, even though I think 99.9% of the people here already follow you or at least know who you are. And if you don't know anymore, now you know. Too much money. I really need a 420 bits thing at this point. It's a whole bit. What up, Lady Badash? I was told AI was going to take my gerb. Where's this gerb they're going to take from me? Fair. It's tough out there. It is tough out there. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm getting too much money. Yep, and I need a 69 bits as well. Maybe Monday. Maybe Monday, that's what I'll do since I have the day off, is I'll finally get some stuff Avocado Abogado. How you doing, homie? I hope you are well. We recently got the sponsorship from Proton. So I need to set up, all the little Proton drops and other things like that. And hopefully some of you will decide to get into the Proton services, and then I'll make a little bit of money that way. But that was cool. They reached out to me, which is also cool. And yeah. We just started this video on AI tattoos. So I'm just going to rewind it back to the beginning, and we'll get into it. We got a lot of content. Everywhere between fun and abject horror. So if any of that sounds like something you're into,
It starts with analysis via a QR code of sorts. A mechanical arm pushes a needle into your skin.
So we're performing calibration dots.
There are lasers.
We tattoo them at different points, and then we analyze them.
This is AI-fueled tattooing.
what comes to? This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. Everything is computer. Everything is AI.
To mine when I say AI and tattooing.
Sci-fi mixed with reality. It just doesn't do it for me.
This weird disconnect.
What up, trans women? CEO trans women. What up, T minus? The goat.
I feel like from the humanity of all of this.
It lacks personality.
But one of New York's hottest tattooers seems ready to embrace it.
I don't see it as rebranding or redefining tattooing. I think of it as a tool.
Bang Bang in his eponymous Soho studio is stacked with a roster of some of the best tattooists in the world. It's also the first U.S. tattoo studio to partner with Black Dot to offer clients AI-fueled tattoos.
This device is really just a tattoo machine we don't have to hold in our hands. We make a design, client agrees on it, we put a stencil on skin.
Welcome in, Billy Stewart.
The only difference is that stencil looks a little different.
How is it different than a more traditional tattoo gun?
Well, it's less painful. It's more controlled.
Now, I got two tattoos. I got the turtle over here. And I got the skull. And the only thing, like, if you haven't gotten a tattoo, the thing that I equated to is it felt like someone, like, had a shard of glass and, what up, a troll? No, motorcycles are dangerous. It felt like someone took a shard of glass and, like, scraped it down my skin. But, like, this isn't a bad place to get a tattoo, you know what I mean?
And it's using less ink to make that image. And so the bleed over time is less.
Tattooing is an ancient practice, dating back thousands of years.
Tattooing, or the practice of decorating the
Across cultures, around the world, people have tattooed and been tattooed.
A lot of us get tattooed to commemorate people that we've lost, to commemorate important moments in our life, or for no reason at all. But all of those reasons are rooted in this humanistic, connective thing.
Those complexities are part of what drew Missy Chu to the art form.
Tattooing is one of the only art forms where it happens on an organic, living being.
And me to her.
One day, you and I are going to be old with our little sticker sleeves, and, you know, our tattoos are not going to be perfect. But, like, to us, at a time when we were young and beautiful, they served as markers of letting the world know who we were.
Do you think you would ever consider using
Never.
AI?
Never. Never.
Most tattooists we spoke to agreed.
It lacks history. It doesn't seem personal.
If you put something that is over technological within it, I feel like there's a layer, it's a barrier. It takes away some magic.
Black Dot CEO knows his device isn't for everyone.
There's choices in tattoo, and there always will be. In terms of what Black Dot offers, I think we have our own lane.
But he and Bang Bang say the key is to think of it as an extra tool that gives fans of tattoos more options for self-expression.
The natural progression of tattooing will be, doesn't need to be made with our hands. That doesn't mean it'll die. Although IKEA can make a couch, you know, the most valuable couch is handmade by an artist and an artisan.
Ellison Barber, NBC News, New York.
I like that guy. I think he's got the right attitude. I want a 7-finger hand tattooed. What up, Michael? Wonder why the stencil part is necessary in the auto tattoo process. Probably because it uses computer vision to track the needle, something like that. It would make sense. AI in tattooing seems like a reasonable advancement. We have laser guided surgery, so why not implement the technology into tattoos? I'm with you. Globustly. I wanted mine under my earlobe. My daughter and the tat artist talked me into the back of my neck. Doesn't hurt, they said. It will be fine, they said. Took me over a year to get it finished. Wanted to hurt them both. And that's like, I don't know. Like, I got mine in places where, like, it doesn't really show, so I could throw on a t-shirt and not show them off. I don't know that I'd want tattoos that I couldn't see. You know, I understand people get them all over, and you do you, boo. I'm, not judging. Later, Red. But I like being able to, look at them, kind of thing. If I get another one, and I've thought about like extending this into a sleeve, and I'm gonna go back to this guy. He's gonna do the whole thing. Maybe next year. All right, up next, Huawei unveils new AI tech to take on NVIDIA.
New York.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories.
Quiet. I didn't mean for you to continue talking.
Huawei has unveiled its SuperPod technology to bundle more AI chips together and boost computing power to challenge NVIDIA's technology. For the latest, let's bring in our Bloomberg's tech correspondent, Annabelle Jewelers. Once again, we saw her just a few minutes ago.
But yeah, Brian pointed out that tattoo fails are a thing, right? Like, and not all tattoos are created equal, and shit like that, man. I don't know if I would get a robot, an AI robot tattoo, but I might. I'm not against it. You know what I mean? Tattoo mistranslations, that's a whole genre.
But first, let's talk about this Huawei news. Essentially, how powerful is this new technology?
Yeah, well, it's powerful enough to be linking thousands of graphic chips together. So I think what's important to acknowledge about Huawei's AI ambitions is that the AI chips it's been able to produce so far, so it's Ascend series, are not nearly as competitive as the most advanced that we see from NVIDIA. The solution that the company, though, has to this is to create technology to put more semiconductors or bundle more semiconductors into a cluster. So cluster-based computing, I mean, it's common. It's one of the common paths to.
And also, like, there's been some backlash against NVIDIA chips, Larry. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, go blast off. Get the show on, get paid. Timmers. I love that alert because that's the rare. Somebody just chose to subscribe. They didn't get a gift sub previously, anything else. You just decided to sub to the channel, and I appreciate it very much. What up, Reed? But yeah, they're like, there's a backlash, and there's kind of like a national. No, I'm not endorsing nationalism at all, any way, shape, or form. All states are bastards, but nationalism a thing that exists, and then you're going to You're going to create that. You're being a patriotic Chinese citizen if you use Huawei products over NVIDIA. And that's the kind of environment that has been created by
supercomputers, but this superpod technology that the company has just announced can link as many as nearly 15 or 16,000 graphics cards together. So it'll be 16,000 graphics cards, but it's containing, importantly, as I said, that Ascend AI chip. So it'll be 16,000 graphics cards, but it's containing.
Okay, this is a 3-panel foldable phone. I have not seen a 3-panel foldable phone. The Chinese are living in 2100, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Containing, importantly, as I said, that Ascend AI chip. So this is really important as we know that China is really continuing to focus its efforts on really weaning companies off in China off NVIDIA technology and really refocusing its efforts to try and build out its self-reliancy.
That's where I'm sure. Look at my man. Look at my man, though. I'm sure it's fine, Ben. But yeah, I'm on that same time. You know what I mean? Like I just and there's actually a little divot in the screen fold. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Essentially.
Yes, Ben wanted. That's what I'm talking about, right? What's that?
Unfortunately,
the fuck just happened?
Nobody seems terribly interested in funding my research, but
I am. I will fund your research.
Yeah? That'd be cool.
Just a random hype train out of nowhere. There was a TV show.
I don't know who I am anymore. I'm getting too much
for
money.
the Froops. Thank you for the biddies, Ribbons. And they had it was like a little curved thing, and they would pull out that screen like this. That I'm with you with that, the roll up phone. I think that's gonna be dope.
I don't know who I am anymore. I'm getting too much money.
Shower me with your biddy love. I appreciate you, Barketer J. Got Punk got gifted a sub by T Minus. That's what must have kicked it off. Thank you, T Minus.
Fight and win the war.
For your love. For your, I can't remember the word. And I'll love you till my dying day. What up, Spectrophonic?
In this space. So that plus Huawei also announced a new lineup of AI chips. We're going to be getting a new Ascend product from next year and over the coming years as well. One each
12
year.
years out of date. I can't keep up with today's high-speed, top-of-the-line kids.
Big Ben gifting one to Textilian Overlord. We got to level 2. Thank you, homie. It's a real hype train. I'm a real boy. Next up, we're doing how China is using AI in the classroom. Now, a lot of people are against using AI in the classroom in the United States, and some of those same people are fans of China. So let's see how China is using AI in the classroom from Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, as China's school year begins, students as young as 6 will be studying artificial intelligence.
It's a starting point for them to be able to be comfortable with the idea of artificial intelligence from a really young age.
What lessons does this experiment hold for students? And what will it mean for China's future as the global tech race rages on? I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take. Before we continue with today's show, if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about this episode and what stories you want us to do next. And if you're listening, you're going to want to check us out on those platforms to see us on video. While you're there, leave us a review telling us where you're listening from and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. It really helps the show.
Remember when YouTube got rid of the star rating system and converted into thumbs up and thumbs down because basically all people do is either give a 5-star rating or a 1-star rating?
I'm Katrina Yu. I am the correspondent for Al Jazeera English in China, based in Beijing.
And you are talking to me very late in Beijing right now.
Indeed. It is 11 p.m.
Well, Katrina, it is great to have you on The Take. This September, China is doing something it hasn't done before. Children as young as 6 years old will be trained in artificial intelligence literacy. So it begs the question, what does that look like in the classroom?
Right. Well, China is strongly encouraging AI education for not just 6-year-olds, but as soon as you start school.
But wait, I've been told that AI is a scam and doesn't work. I have a similar gripe with curved movie screens. The curve is just distracting. If it's subtle, I can usually tune it out, but a strong curve puts me right out of the movie. I much prefer a classic flat 100 plus foot screen. Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about like a curved monitor, right? Like that's one of those things that just, why I don't have one, why I've never pushed to get one. You know what I mean?
To the end, a program of AI literacy. Obviously, you just start, you can't, you're at school, you can't read. And so it's not really about getting these kids to have a deep knowledge of AI, but it's about sparking their interest in AI. What does that look like? I guess most likely bringing them maybe to a robot convention, showing them videos of robots, talking to them about how they might be helpful in their lives, in their families, in their households, and in the country. And the aim is that these 6-year-olds will one day grow up and be very good users of AI. Oh, that's the hope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So 6-year-olds will grow up and totally know how artificial intelligence works. But for the secondary schoolers, middle schoolers, high schoolers, this is about what? Ethics? Right and wrong? What do you think is happening there?
So we don't know what AI education is going to look like in the next 10 years. But when you get into middle school now, you'll be able to use different applications, chatbots, different visual applications on the phone. You'll also be learning about the ethics of AI. You'll be learning about privacy, social responsibility issues. You'll be learning the basics about what goes in the back end of AI, and the higher levels of high school that you get, you'll learn about what goes into actually making that. And I'm sure the hope from the Chinese government's point of view will be that some of these kids will grow up and be AI engineers or contribute to AI in some form or fashion.
Okay, so
Inspector Finding, I think that they're talking about like ethical AI use and the ethics around AI. But again, like, that is, it's a neat emote. It seems a little, I don't know, for Twitch. But I will probably use it because it's a fork.
We talked about the potential hope there. In April, China's President Xi Jinping spoke about AI as a strategic technology.
General Secretary Xi Jinping noted that the party's Central Committee attaches great importance to the development of AI. The CPC has improved the top-level design and strengthened implementation efforts in recent years.
Why do you think there is such an emphasis on AI in China?
Xi Jinping has made it his mission to achieve this great rejuvenation of China by the year 2049, which basically means he wants China to be really advanced, prosperous. He calls it modern socialist society. And
Yeah, well, Emma's got a whole frog a slew of frog emotes. So yeah, it's right up their alley.
Xi Jinping believes artificial intelligence is crucial to getting to that goal. Somehow, whoever is able to really use AI will be one of the most powerful, most advanced, most influential countries in the world. And he believes that so strongly that he doesn't want to leave it to market forces. He genuinely believes that the state is responsible for doing what it can to get its country there. So that's why we're seeing all this investment. That's why we're seeing these education mandates. So that's one part of it. I think the other part is that Xi Jinping, as a leader, since he's come to power, it's been really evident that he's kind of obsessed with narratives. And artificial intelligence, as we know, is not just this objective entity that will speak the truth or whatever that is. It is imbued with the ideas, the philosophies, the histories, the ideologies of whoever creates it. And we're seeing people go to
Yeah, you got to participate, Larry.
ChatGPT or these chatbots for not using it.
This is capitalism. You got to throw in some money in order to get any kind of benefit. It's not communism.
As Google,
it's permanent.
For direction in their life, they're having an influence on people. So Xi Jinping also is conscious of China as not just a rival with Western countries when it comes to the economic sphere, geopolitical sphere, the military sphere. It's also a rivalry with countries like the US when it comes to ideas. And one of the things that artificial intelligence does is it powers these large language models. So I think China also wants to make sure that
the golden kappa is a special one. And yeah, you only keep it for like a day. Yeah.
It is in the AI game, writing its own LLMs and playing a part in contributing to that world narrative. And that is also part of the mission, I think.
Well, you mentioned the rivalry there. In the US, 250 CEOs, including the heads of LinkedIn, Uber, Salesforce, signed an open letter to lawmakers criticizing the US for not doing something similar to what we're seeing roll out in China. So you've talked about why this is so important to China being the narrative. But when I think of narrative, I'm imagining a bunch of squirmy 6-year-olds. Instead of using crayons to color, they are using AI to generate things from their imagination, pictures of their home and what they did that day. There's no more coloring outside the lines because AI has got it. Is there conversation online in China about what this will look like? Will it look like that?
I think when we look at the guidelines that the government released about this, strongly urging the AI to be in Chinese curriculum, they specifically say that they don't want AI to be thinking for the kids. They want them to be able to use AI without those things. But it's kind of difficult, right? Because you're teaching kids about how useful this is, how great this is. But no, don't, you don't use it. I'm just, telling you an app. This is a thing the rest of the world will have to kind of figure out, like, how are we going to teach our children how to use AI without it harming their ability to think for themselves. And what I'm seeing from the Chinese government, especially, is this very conscious move to make sure that the population kind of embrace AI, that they're not scared of it, that they will see it as a positive.
Imagine the world we would live in if the government educated people on AI and didn't want you to be scared of it, wanted you to be able to use it for all the positive purposes it is capable of being used for.
Well, Katrina, you have reported on how the Chinese government is pouring billions into not just AI development, but also into the creation of robotics that can run that AI. And you got to see this
Right.
up close and personal at the World Robotics Conference in Beijing.
Yeah.
I've seen a video of you exploring this conference, and it's
Yeah.
really quite something to see. So tell us about what you saw, or should I say, who you met?
um, 200 companies were presenting their robots at this conference, and the theme was embodied intelligence. So, a lot of us, many of us may have chatbots on our phone, but it's about giving those chatbots a body, human or animal or other.
And that's the key, Billy. Like, in the here and now, there's a lot of downside to see, and that downside is valid. But most of that downside relates to capitalist exploitation. And if we can get out the other side of it, man. What up, Raven? I swear every time I see the homepage of this website, it's a bunch of assholes screaming about a sponsor in between ranked Marvel Rivals matches. Yeah. I spend almost no time on the homepage of Twitch. Just fuck them.
Wise. And so, first of all, what impressed me was the scale of this. They had fighting robots in a boxing ring. They had robots that were playing the drums, playing the piano, making coffee, serving popcorn. They had freakily human-looking robots, with like the silicon skin that is, with.
It's not data centers, Spectrophonic. Though data centers are increasing demand, it's fucking capitalism. Right? They're just squeezing money out of you and me and everybody else.
The hair, with the eye movements. In China, there are hundreds of companies creating humanoid robots to do all sorts of things. One of the robots that impressed me was a robot that has been designed by UB Tech. And their robots are being.
Because the thing is, like, they should have been developing the infrastructure and keeping it up to date and creating new generation and all those things. But that would have cut into profits. So now that demand is up, they can fleece the residential customers, and too bad, so sad. Why don't you go to the other power company that operates in your neighborhood?
Used in some electric vehicle factories in China. And they have now come up with a robot that can change its own battery. Like, it literally takes a battery out of its back while still having another battery. It knows when its battery is low, it replaces it, and then it goes on working. So
incredible.
There's now a factory worker that doesn't rest, doesn't sleep, doesn't take breaks, doesn't eat, doesn't complain, can work 24/7. So that's like something I thought was only in movies, but that's.
Okay. Real quick, this is wild to me.
Breaks, doesn't eat, doesn't complain, can work 24/7. So
you look at the quality on this screen here. Now, whether this is a green screen or this is their actual monitor or whatever, the quality is great, right? Like, this is excellent resolution that we have here. But when we go,
that's like something I thought was only in movies, but that's already happening.
To the direct feed, the resolution goes down. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Another thing that surprised me is there were so.
I don't know, Raven, about the area you operate in, but like, we take our wheelie bin to the edge of the driveway, and the truck comes along, and dudes don't get out of the truck anymore. They have a little arm that reaches out, grabs the can, dumps it into like a little dumpster at the front of the truck, and then every so often they dump the little dumpster into the back of the truck and it comes back down again. All you need is full self-driving, and yeah, that's a robot job.
Many kids at this thing, and it was geared towards kids. You know, the first time my 3-year-old saw a robot was in person was at the mall, this like dog-looking robot, and the first thing my 3-year-old did was freak out because like it's animal, but it's not quite animal. But the more you see it, the more you interact with it, the more you get used to it, the more
What up, Senator?
interested you are and welcoming of this kind of technology. Potentially, that humanoid robot could be walking their dog and cooking their food at home. It could be.
I honestly, I find almost no like, trash that got escaped from the bin. So I don't know how our guys do it, but they do it well enough that there isn't any blowaway. Pretty simple. You teach the kids the basics first, and once they show they understand the fundamentals, they can use calculators or computers. I didn't touch a laptop until high school. Before that, I used an AlphaSmart, basically just an electronic word processor and nothing more. Yeah.
Not teaching them at school, but it could be like the assistant teacher at their school one day. Who knows?
As the technology increases, they can become much more lifelike. So it won't feel like they're an anomaly, this robotic thing that's like a human or that's like an animal. You actually spoke to one who's not quite there yet. Tell me about that exchange.
So I just wanted to have a conversation. I said, I'm Katrina from Al Jazeera. And then I waited for a response, maybe 5 seconds. It was thinking, it was like thinking.
Nice to meet you too, Katrina. It's great to connect with a journalist from Algeria.
It's great to meet a journalist from Algeria. So not quite. I mean, and then I corrected it and then it apologized to me. So that was nice.
Okay.
But the technology, who knows, 5 years from now, that could have been a much smoother conversation. And it was a warm tone. That's obviously not the most advanced. I'm sure a company in the back of their warehouse has some secret project that's even more advanced going on.
Right.
And so there's so much investment. I've covered so many AI stories. For me, I feel like AI it's such a huge thing. And this analyst I was talking to, she says, there is no other government that is so enthusiastic as China in really making a bet on AI. They are really hoping this is going to pay off because if you look at other governments, especially in the West, they're actually kind of afraid because they are afraid of the impact this is going to have on their labor force. They're afraid of people losing their jobs. And so they're kind of just tentative, maybe wait and see, in some cases even holding back with AI, but China is going all in.
We cater to all levels, Raven. Like, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. It is like, this is an educational channel.
So one of the reasons for that is that China is in the middle of a demographic crisis, aging population. There is a concern that the labor force that powered its breakneck economic growth, that era could quickly end. And I think they're also hoping that the solution to that will be AI, could be humanoid robots in factories instead of the millions of people who now power those industries.
We'll have more with Katrina after the break. Katrina, you and I, through so much of this conversation, are being kind of jovial because so much of this conversation feels very sci-fi and feels fun and light. There's also another sector where AI is increasingly being used, and that has people nervous, and that is in warfare. So a big part of any country's identity is its military, and we know that President Xi has also vowed to have a world-class military by 2050.
Well, then you're already headed in the right direction, Raven.
How does China talk about AI when it comes to conflict?
I think Xi Jinping has made it very.
Why is it in English? The Joint Military Band of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Why is it in English?
Comes to conflict.
I think Xi Jinping has made it very clear that AI is going to play a crucial role in China's military, not just tomorrow, but today. We just had in Beijing this whole city shut down for this massive military parade on September the 3rd, which was marking the end of World War II.
The crowd of more than 50,000 waved Chinese flags, cheering as
maybe so they can dunk on us, right?
Thousands of soldiers marched in perfect unison. Several hundred ground weapon systems on display, over 100 aircraft.
Lots of soldiers goose-stepping. It was a spectacle. And a lot of military analysts, the messages that I got afterwards were really remarking on not only the advanced tanks, the advanced jets, the advanced hypersonic missiles, but so many different types of drones, so many different types of unmanned ships, unmanned submarine vehicles. The phrase that I heard was that the army of the future is the army of no man, and that the future of warfare could be fought with all of these unmanned vehicles. And one analyst I spoke to said, well, if you remove the person from a ship, then you don't need to worry about defending the ship or arming it in a certain way. It really just changes the game. You have, you can have all these vehicles, you can have these,
Think about it. Think about a ship, right? You got the shipness, right? Whatever is required to have a ship, you know, for it to float. Then you have to put guns on it so that it can do offensive actions. You have to put guns on it to do defensive actions, and those require ammunition. Then you need, like, you know, detection equipment like radar and sonar and shit like that. And maybe some other dealy bobs. And then everything, and fuel for the engine, however that works. And then everything else is to support the crew. What up, Ferret? You know what I mean? Like, you need food and fresh water and all that kind of, and, you know, like latrine facilities and places to sleep and places to keep your shit and all that kind of crap. Imagine you tear all that out, right? Is an entirely other kind of boat that we're talking about. Recently had a whole house briefing on some UFO. Oh yeah. My White House thing. Medical, yeah, absolutely. Not an alien believer. I'll believe it when I see. He asked me, it was most likely some tech from one of these countries who rightfully hates us. So the object you're talking about was a thing that was moving, and then a Hellfire missile smacked into it, and the Hellfire didn't explode, and chunks of it came off, and it continued to travel in like a forward direction, and so did the chunks. To me, Raven, like, I'm convinced it was a drone, and the missile just hit it, and the missile didn't detonate for whatever reason, whether it wasn't, you know, big and solid enough to detonate or whatever. It didn't explode. It smacked into the drone, and then the drone kind of flew on, and pieces continued to move forward because the drone was moving very fast, and then it went off camera, right? The missile is eepy. The missile knows where it is. What up, Vibrator? So we are becoming a UFO stream. No, occasionally we do talk about aliens and shit like that. But we are not a UFO stream. I find the idea that aliens are here to be incredibly unlikely. Yet, yes. I can't say 100% that we won't become a UFO stream. What up, Brad?
a swarm attack. AI will be used in the way that a battlefield is scanned, in surveillance and reconnaissance, in early warning. It can be used in training. I think is also begging the question of other governments. And I mean, the kind of investments they're making in their military, are they making the right investments, or should they also be thinking?
Yeah, that's exactly the time I'm on, Raven. Like, I think that I find it incredibly likely that there are other planets with life on them somewhere in the universe. I find it equally likely that, like, some of them have developed at least to the level that we're on. Distinct possibility that they're more advanced than we are, all of that kind of crap. Sure. But are they here now with us? I don't. Not at all.
Thinking about a war that can be fought with all these unmanned technologies.
Yeah. Well, Katrina, at the same time, there's also another battle. We touched on this earlier, but I want to dive in a little deeper here, and that is about the battle for dominance in AI, specifically when it comes to the technology that powers it. So AI chips. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Digital, maybe that's what I should do for hype trains. As long as we're in a hype train, I'll do UFO content. And then as soon as the hype train's over, the UFO content ends.
About those? Well, not being an engineer, I think in simple terms, AI requires a lot of computing power, and the US had control over the creation of the best semiconductors. If you think of companies like NVIDIA, for example, at the forefront of this kind of technology, I think there was a recognition from the previous US Biden administration that maybe they shouldn't be sending their best semiconductors to China, because one day
Wow.
they could be used, China as a rival could be used against the US militarily. And so they started systematically restricting the access of semiconductors to the Chinese market. Now, at the beginning, that was quite devastating for Chinese companies who relied on this kind of technology. But it has also spurred the Chinese government to really be on a mission for self-reliance, to realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be relying on the US for something that is so important to our mission and our future. Maybe we should create a homegrown industry. And that is exactly what China has done. And it's been slow, painful, and expensive, but China now is progressing in the creation of its own semiconductors. And I think you have the creation or the founding of companies like DeepSeek that suddenly came on the global stage, seemingly out of nowhere earlier this year.
DeepSeek caused those ripples in the US because DeepSeek is a Chinese artificial intelligence company.
And it has emerged as a real player in the AI arms race. It's called DeepSeek, and investors, and I would imagine officials in Washington, are stunned to learn that DeepSeek's AI model has developed technology that can actually be competitive with OpenAI and Google and xAI and all these more established players.
And it freaked out the stock market and the whole tech industry in the United States because it really challenged this narrative. So
People overstate the freak out. I want to make that clear. People overstate the freak out. The market did a little bit of a dip, but it has done little bits of dips because a certain amount of investors are going to run because they don't want to be left holding the bag. You know, skittish. We talked about that before. And it did change some of the behaviors of like OpenAI and Google, but to a much lesser extent, people like Anthropic and Microsoft. You know what I mean? See this? It's alien. It's never alien.
China has now got an industry that many experts would acknowledge that, yes, it is still behind the US, but maybe it's not as far behind as we thought. And some nationalist commentators on in China.
Remember the drones over New Jersey, which were definitely totally aliens and that like just literally dropped off the fucking face of the map?
Say actually thank you to the US, thank you to the Biden administration for doing that, because that really lit a fire under the bottom policymakers in China, and they're not going to need to go to anyone else for semiconductors to power their AI dreams of the future.
AI dreams of the future. So, Katrina, before we go, you and I have a couple of things in common, and that is that we are both elder millennials, and we both have young kids who are not quite school age yet.
Only millennials have this elder thing. There's no elder Gen Xers. There's no elder Zoomers. It's only millennials. What is it with y'all millennials and the elder ones who you? I don't even know why you want that.
Yet, but will be soon. And your kids are growing up in a world where AI will be something they learn most likely in school. When you think of their future, do you ever wonder how different it will be from the upbringing that you had?
And I just tagged all the elder millennials in chat. What up, Jenny Burns?
All the time. I think it's already so different. Technology is such a huge part of our lives. And I wonder what kind of part it's going to play in their future when they grow up, what kind of jobs they're going to have. And I think there's like two sides of the coin. And my husband and I talk about this all the time. He's kind of the pessimistic, oh no, kind of not panicking, but a little worried about what their future is going to look like. I'm choosing to be optimistic. I'm hoping that whatever world they grow up with AI, that it's going to free up their time to be more creative, to be more expressive, that it will celebrate the things that make them human, that it might take away jobs, sure, that are process-oriented, that are repetitive, but maybe the future will be a better one. I don't know what it's like. It's changing so quickly, but I can only choose to be hopeful. And I think that there's no point in trying to shield them from it. I think AI will be an inevitable part of their life. So as a parent, I think it's also my prerogative to be on top of that and to be curious and open and resist the elder millennial ways of not moving on this and see where it takes not just my kids, but all of us.
Yeah. Katrina, thank you for this conversation and for letting us in on what it's like in Beijing right now.
Thank you.
It was nice. It was nice. Another joint from Al Jazeera. Do billionaires even understand the sci-fi that they're trying to create? What up, Arnaldo? I'm doing very well. I am making a decent amount of money, doing meaningful work. I have the respect of people at my work. I have the respect of people outside of my work. I feel good. If the entire rest of the world could unfuck itself so I could enjoy myself for 10 fucking minutes, that'd be great. But in my very, very personal life, I'm good. I'm good.
These are some of the most powerful men on Earth.
First live demo in VR.
Leaders of corporations worth trillions of dollars. Innovators who have changed how much of the world lives. nothing gets them as excited as new tech.
Oh my God!
And the possibility of making science fiction into science reality.
I think science fiction's always been an influence on people working in technology, especially in Silicon Valley. As a science fiction writer, if I ever meet anybody from
Like if you showed me this guy and asked me what he did, I would say sci-fi writer. He just looks like a sci-fi writer.
those industries, they're always instantly interested.
It's always the science fiction guys. They think of everything first, and the builders come along and they make it happen.
A lot of major founders and CEOs have talked pretty extensively about their own love of science fiction.
Yeah, I think like sci-fi movies, video games can be pretty inspiring and thought-provoking about what are some like impossible sounding technologies that maybe could work somehow.
Elon Musk talks a lot about loving the Scottish sci-fi writer Ian M. Banks's Culture series. Jeff Bezos of Amazon is, in addition to being a huge Lord of the Rings fan, is also a big fan of the Culture. Sam Altman of OpenAI has been talking a lot about the Spike Jonze movie Her, starring Scarlett Johansson as an AI.
Hello, I'm here.
No, Vibrator, you do not have to stop loving sci-fi just because the dipshits love sci-fi. You do not. 100% do not abandon the field to the dipshits and fascists. Right? Fucking... Exactly. Office Space, right? You know, why should I change my name?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
The number of things that I think Her got right.
Yes, Timmers, you are correct.
This idea that it is going to be this like conversational language interface, that was incredibly prophetic and certainly more than a little bit inspired us.
The tech titans have drawn on many different ideas from science fiction, and they range from the imaginative to the grotesque.
We will take materials from the moon and from near-Earth objects, and we'll build giant colonies, and people will live in those.
If you're ever in Redolent Thoughts stream, ask Redolent Thought about Jeff Bezos.
Science fiction itself as a genre is not just about the technology, it's about the kind of implications for society. But I think the kind of way in which tech titans take it is that they take all the shiny technology part of it and they ignore the social, political, and economic implications of those.
The tech bros who wield
Redolent Thought knows Jeff Bezos. I don't know what to tell you, Ferret.
so much influence over our lives wouldn't be the first to have misinterpreted, misunderstood, or just missed the ethical lessons in the literature.
I don't want to get into that, Chef. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. The fact that if I go to any bookstore or library, fantasy and sci-fi are like in the same fucking space in the world, that I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. What up, Johnny?
And films they consume. However, given their intelligence and the caliber of their teams,
Johnny, I made a T-bone steak. If you have a woman in your life, or if you are a woman, if you have a period, or you know someone who has a period, and they consume meat, right? They are not a vegan or vegetarian or what have you. At that time, make them a steak. A steak. Red meat. Make them a steak. I'm telling you. I saw a woman said this on like a TikTok or some shit, and they said make them a steak. And I made my wife a steak. Yes, do that. So Johnny, I made a steak. I made a T-bone steak, and it was like, I went full on caveman because, you know, the T-bone and some of the best meat is along, and I'm just standing at the counter, just tearing at it with my hands and shoving chunks of meat in my face.
what they're doing seems to go beyond a simple misreading of sci-fi. follow them closely, and a pattern emerges of cherry-picking cool
Every time. Fuck that guy.
concepts, ideas that can become products, innovations that stretch the limits of science and even necessity, and if it all works out, can make them a whole lot of money.
I love science fiction. I mean, I have spent a lot of time reading that.
One example of this kind of ethically dismissive sci-fi fascination is demonstrated by Mark Zuckerberg, creator of Facebook, CEO of social media behemoth Meta.
Are there any books in particular, writers in particular?
There's some that are just classics around this, right? So I think at this point, anyone who's interested in this space would read Ready Player One and Snow Crash.
Snow Crash.
I think Zuckerberg's relationship to Snow Crash is harder for me to understand precisely because Snow Crash is very much a dystopian satire.
It's super powerful, and it is sort of the science fiction future that I think we all hope to get to.
It's very interesting to me that Zuckerberg has sort of latched onto it as a vision of a future that he wants to bring about.
An embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse.
I wouldn't be so rude as to suggest that Zuckerberg hasn't read the book, but I think this is an example of something where he's seen a framework, an idea of a kind of full virtual reality cyberspace that you can travel to and within.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear. All right, perfect.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
I think what's really interesting about a lot of the Silicon Valley CEOs, people like Elon or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, these guys aren't really engineers or innovators anymore. They're just money men.
I was an AI nerd my whole life. I watched sci-fi shows growing up, and I always thought it would be really cool if someday somebody built it.
Sam Altman's a perfect example of this. He's not an AI programmer. He's not worked in that field himself as an engineer. So it's easier for them to become vision guys, selling themselves as an innovative brand or someone that sees the future. And science fiction allows them to do that.
There's a palpable thrill for
Demis Hassabis is an actual coder. Demis Hassabis worked on Black and White. Now, I don't know how much he's coded AI, but he coded the AI that existed within Black and White. So whatever that was, right? He participated in that. So don't let him catch some strays.
many tech entrepreneurs. When something jumps out of the pages of a sci-fi book or an episode of a futuristic TV series into the realm of the possible. There's Elon Musk's neurotechnology company, Neuralink.
Neuralink, an experimental brain-computer interface that allows patients to control technology with their mind.
Jeff Bezos, once best known as the founder of Amazon, is now also known as the man behind space technology company Blue Origin. His ambition isn't just commercial space travel. He is looking at human colonies in outer space.
Was the idea of manufactured worlds. These are very large structures, miles on end, and they hold 1 million people or more each. This is a very different kind of space colony.
On many levels, these tech titans seem to be playing God. Probe them, though, and they'd insist they're merely pushing humanity's limits so that certain people, the rich, ambitious, intelligent, can become more like God.
Yeah, transhumanism. You know, the ideal was this...
Could you just not? You fucking... Like... Again, I don't want to dunk on Peter Thiel's looks, but I feel like the zombie has bitten Peter, and he's not telling the rest of the group. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that I get. I'm a fan of transhumanism. Some of the worst people in the fucking world talk about this shit.
Radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body.
These fantasy goals are...
I didn't need to know that, Timmers, and now I'm never going to forget it.
are the product of a pretty extreme set of ideologies that many tech bros and sci-fi geeks adopt. They've been summarized in an academic paper into a neat acronym: TESCREAL, transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, cosmism, rationalism.
Somebody said that earlier. I didn't realize it was another fucking anagram. But yeah, apparently it was.
Effective altruism, and long-termism. It's a lot of words to Google. In short, these are a set of notions that reinforce the need to build tech-enhanced humans, people with faster brains, who biohack their bodies to perform with minimal sleep, for instance, and who do things like build colonies in space so that the longevity of humankind is ensured.
There's likely to be another Dark Ages, particularly if there's a Third World War. Then we want to make sure that there's enough of us to bring civilization back. I think that's why it's important to get a self-sustaining base, ideally on Mars.
It would be easy to dismiss these as fringe delusions of wealthy, eccentric Western tech bros. But this tight clique of ultra-rich businessmen control some of the most significant technologies
This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow.
Used around the world, and they also have a lot of influence with the most powerful and the most dangerously eccentric man on Earth.
There's a notion that we can get to a world we want through techno-solutionism. Technology is the solution in these minds. If we just build this thing correctly, then we can solve political and social problems.
So there's a meme about the torment nexus, which is the idea that a science fiction author has written a book where there's a terrible, torturous technology called the torment nexus. And then the next thing is Texio has announced that they've invented the torment nexus. It's kind of like disturbingly accurate these days.
A bunch of people have read books that are quite clearly and explicitly warning against a particular kind of technology and taking from it the idea that they should, in fact, create that technology.
This is a hill I will die on. I've made this argument before. I will continue to make this argument again. Science fiction novels, science fiction stories, science fiction movies, any of that kind of shit, tend to have technology in them, but the story is not about the technology. It's actually about some human condition that they want to study, right? And that they want to talk about. And the technology is just a stand-in for whatever they need. It's a vehicle. It's not the thing in and of itself. It's distinctly possible that someone wrote something like Don't Invent the Torment Nexus, but most, like, The Expanse is not about the fucking aliens or the spaceships. It's about the political interactions and the oppression of people and the workers, you know, trying to rise up against their oppressors. That, right? Like, that's what it's actually about. Okay, so here's the thing. All the rich tech bros just got to get on some sailboats and discuss it with our orca overlords. I think that all tech overlords, tech bros should get on Elon Musk's rockets, right? So where's it gonna happen? What up, Brown Note? Global and media literacy is dead in this country. I understand. I'm with you, but these are media people making that argument. You know what I mean? You know, like the odds might be in our favor, Senator. I have a PhD in physics. The Expanse is my favorite sci-fi of all time. I enjoyed the fact, you know, in the combat and how they would turn the entire ship to slow down and all that kind of shit. I love The Expanse. I love blue collar working class fucking sci-fi like Alien, and fucking The Expanse and shit like that. I just think it's great because it feels more real. You know what I mean?
And I think AI is an interesting thing to talk about here because on one level, many people who even work in the AI industry believe that they are creating a technology with the power to destroy the world, and yet for some reason continue to work on it.
If you have this incredible new technology, you can maybe get much closer to the kind of computer that exists in sci-fi.
Tech giants see no downside, but that's not how sci-fi works. Sci-fi works with saying you've changed something fundamental about the society. What happens to the entire world around this? Who is harmed and who's losing? And I think the tech titans really don't think about that at all. They only think about this as an unlimited upside, and that's a huge issue.
Thank you for watching. Hit that like button.
Yeah, but if you saw the end of Don't Look Up, Chef, and if you haven't seen the end of Don't Look Up, you should go watch Don't Look Up. I can, Browno, I can feel it's like when you watch every one of you has this. Every one of you has this. When you watch a TV show, not reality, like fiction. When you watch a TV show or a movie and something in it is based around stuff that you know, and you see it and it's just it's jarring and it takes you out of it because you're like, it's like no. What up, Kiddio? That's not how any of this works. All right, speaking of tech billionaires, Zuck's new power, new fireship.
Yesterday, the world got its first look at the most innovative, most exciting, and most dystopian tech product of 2025. The $799 Ray-Ban sunglasses that lets you live life like a fighter pilot with a full-color heads-up display. And not only that, but it can practically read your mind thanks to this thing called the Meta Neural Band, which is a bracelet that measures movement before it's even visually perceptible. A product this terrifying could only be conceived by one man, Mark Zuckerberg, who demoed them at MetaConnect 2025. The presentation was truly impressive at times, but not everything went according to plan. Actually, that's an understatement. This could go down in history as one of the biggest live demo fails.
The price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay. Brown note, subscribing with the Primmy. Them Bezos bucks. The Bezos bucks from Bezos's pocket, not going to a dick rocket, but going into my pocket to support the channel. Bezos bucks.
Since Elon tried to demo the bulletproof glass of the Cybertruck.
Oh my fucking god. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Right. Like, I don't understand how this wasn't the end for Elon Musk. Like, how hard do you have to ride for this motherfucker? You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. What up, Leftist Corporation? Welcome in.
In today's video, we'll look at the incredible tech behind Meta's new half-baked Ray-Bans and find out what it'll be like to interact with fellow humans in the future. It is September 18th, 2025, and you're watching The Code Report. When Meta released its AI smart glasses last year, the first thing people did was develop an app to dox people in real time by connecting its real-time video feed to facial recognition software. This has allowed men to optimize the way they talk to women by knowing all their personal details in advance. That's awesome, but these new Meta Ray-Ban display glasses represent a breakthrough in three key areas. First, it has a full-color, high-resolution 600 by 600 pixel display positioned in the right lens. The display is translucent and doesn't obstruct the wearer's natural vision.
Did I get them? Did I spend $800 on a pair of glasses? You know, these glasses, as stylish as they are the ones in the section of my vision, my whatever they're called, that are free under my insurance. So no, I did not get the $800 fucking space Ray-Ban glasses. Excuse me. But if you want better hallway vision, it is currently $420 on the West Coast. And if you live in a legal state with the legal, and all the other things that James says about legal weed and legal states and legal places to do that stuff, it is currently $420 in your time to shine. But also, just smoke the weed, kids.
That means when your parents call you in for an important conversation to get a job and move out of their basement, you can maintain eye contact while still getting all of your...
What up, Zero? Zach, yes, if chat were to drop I got a tip jar in the down there part. If chat were to drop $800 on me, then yes, I would go buy the glasses because that's what chat wanted.
Important Instagram notifications. The second innovation in these new Ray-Bans is just the sheer amount of AI slot packed into the device. They're much bulkier than regular Wayfarers, but have a 6-hour battery life and allow you to do things like translate conversations in real time to any language. They can recognize images in the real world and also respond with new images generated by AI. One real-world use case for this feature is that it could turn any modern wife into a trad wife by leveling up her cooking skills. At Meta Connect, they attempted to live demo it cooking, but it failed hard.
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate a pear to add to the sauce.
What up, Science Politically?
What do I do first?
You've already combined the base.
Fireship is edgy sarcasm, right? They are not serious. So that trad wife thing was intended to be edgy internet sarcasm.
Ingredients, so now grate the pear and gently combine it with the base sauce.
All right, I think the Wi-Fi might be messed up. Sorry, back to you, Mark. It's all good. You know what? It's all good.
They tried to play it off as a Wi-Fi problem, but clearly the problem is that the AI here just isn't very intelligent. The third and most impressive innovation, though, is the Meta Neural Band, a wristband that comes with every...
This fucking thing is cool. This band is cool as shit.
Pair of display glasses. It uses electromyography technology to sense tiny electrical signals in your wrist that correspond to the way you move your hands. This thing can actually detect how your hands are going to move before the movement even happens. It completely replaces old-fashioned touchscreens on antique devices like the iPhone, because everything can now be controlled with subtle finger movements. What's most impressive is that it works universally on all humans without calibration, the only exception being humans with no arms. That amazing feat was achieved by testing it on over 200,000 participants. But is this approach actually intuitive from a UI/UX perspective?
I don't know about you. When I watch TV...
Oh, we had I accidentally exited. That's my fault. That's my fault.
It's all good.
Okay, we're good now.
It's really live.
As you can see, even Meta employees seem to struggle using it. But despite these live demo failures, you have to give Meta some credit for having the balls to demo it live. It's a refreshing change from the over-glamorous Apple-style announcements, but Meta probably could have shipped a more stable product if they ran their CI/CD pipelines with Blacksmith, the sponsor of today's video.
Yeah, so we're gonna let homie run his ad. Just turn it way down. We'll go over here
to drop in
and let him do his thing. Because we watch a lot of Fireship and we enjoy his content and etc. 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 Fucking capitalism. Time to vamp. Look at me vamp. Vamp, vamp, vamp. So yeah, I like the band idea. I mean, part of it I think is practice. It's like anything else, right? Like there are people who like use hand gestures with their phone, right? There are people who use hand gestures with you know, like the special AI cameras where they can get it to zoom in and shit like that. I think all that is neat, but it takes practice, right? Like so that you do the thing in the proper way. So yeah. All right. back to the content. True, Brad. But you have to learn, right? As Richard Pryor taught me way back in I want to say it was the 90s. I gave him the wrong finger. It's been a minute since we checked in with Tim and Theoretically Media, so let's check in with Tim and Theoretically Media.
Next one.
Buckle up, the world models are coming. Today,
I forgot, Tim actually has really good sound.
Today, we're hopping into World Labs, a platform that literally lets you wander around inside of an image. And yes, that is kind of insane. But more than that, as we will see today, the application of this technology is, dare I say, a game changer for filmmaking, interactive content, games, and beyond. And what's even better, you can start playing with it today for free. Okay, Ready Player One. So I've been following World Labs since they uncloaked out of stealth back in December of 2024. There was kind of a number of large world model projects that debuted around that time, including Google's Genie 2. And although both of these, at least on the surface level, might look kind of similar, World Labs is taking a very different approach here. The main issue that we run into with large world models, like we'll say like the Minecraft-based Oasis one, Mirage also had one that was kind of like Grand Theft Auto themed. And even truthfully, the big daddy of them all, Google's Genie 3, the thing that they all have in common is that they do have an issue with persistence. These models work by creating an environment and then you can explore them as it generates video frame by frame, which, I mean, when you really think about it, is kind of insane. But eventually, and well, given enough time, these models start to decohere, like the whole world begins to melt and they all forget objects that are placed within it. Kind of like me and my keys, except in a world model, my keys may no longer exist. World Labs differs here because it uses Gaussian splats to generate its environments. Side note, Gaussian splats still unclaimed as the greatest punk rock band name ever. And just as a quick backtrack to bring everybody up to speed, Gaussian splats essentially create point-based, well, splats really, that when combined together create a cohesive 3D environment. The limitation with splats is that generally you're relegated to what you and, well, the model can see. So while we have object permanence, you still can't see what you can't see. Well, at least until now. So Marble, which is the new World Labs model, will let you take a image like this, say, and then when you bring it in, and that will create essentially, a 3D environment based off of your image. And what's kind of cool is that you can turn completely around. So none of this information was obviously in that input image. This is all essentially Marble, creating something new. And yes, you can go wandering around in it as well, which is pretty insane. Now, it does weird stuff like this door here, for example. I don't know who would put a door here, particularly when you've got a drop like that. I mean, if we're looking at it from the ground level, I mean, yeah, you're going to break a leg. I don't know. That architect needs to be fired. Now, there are definitely some limitations to this. We're going to go over that in just a minute, but I should also point out that it does handle a variety of different aesthetics and, maintains consistency. So taking one of our grimy 40s noir detective offices, and after a quick run through Marble, we can now go wander around our noir detective's office, check out his case files. To note, again, we do have an entire back section to this environment that was obviously not present in the input image. We have another desk back here. We're going to put a lamp back here. It's kind of dark. And then another desk over here, which I presume is his girl Friday's. Controls are handled via the WASD keys. And you can actually crane up with the spacebar and down with the control key. I did just discover too, you can actually control.
This is wild. Yeah, the door thing doesn't bother me because there's a whole bunch of houses that have second floor doors so that you don't have to take things up the stairs. You can raise them up and send them through the door. It didn't bother me. But are y'all not impressed by this? the fact that you can take an image and turn it into a 3D environment that you can just fucking walk through.
Field of view via the bracket bars as well. So that's actually really, really cool. Creating a 3D world, remarkably pretty easy. All we have to do is upload an image. So let's grab this image generated up of some vacation spot, given the blueness of the water, a place that I will not be able to afford. As a note, you can generate via a text prompt. I do think that most of us will probably, be going the image route anyhow. And then there are two choices in either going with the Marble 01 mini model, which...
And then there's a bunch of houses, like especially like on the east side, where the landlord didn't want to pay to have the porch repaired, so they tore it all down. But the second story door that led onto the upper porch is still there.
Is finished in about 40 seconds, or the Plus model at 10 minutes roughly per generation. I've been using the Plus model because why not? It's only 10 minutes. So let's fire this off and see what we get. Oh, as a note, it actually does generate a prompt out for you with your image. And you can actually modify that to create like new areas or add things in. That said, at least today, there appears to be something wrong with that. It was working yesterday. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. I'm not, that's fine. It's a beta. That's what betas are for. And there we go. We're now wandering around the vacation location that I cannot afford. Oh, cool. There's like a mountain range back there. That's kind of neat. Okay, let's talk about some elephants in the room and some limitations, but also exactly what we can do with this. So for one, especially when you have kind of realistic environments, the more detail-packed things are, there is, for lack of a better term, kind of like a Gaussian crunchiness to a lot of the textures and details. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, while the model does do a pretty good job of like a location and even kind of implying that other areas exist, there actually are not other areas. So it does occasionally create rooms within a room. For example, here's one. Let's make ourselves a little bit taller here. And like this is the initial input image, but there is actually this whole other room over here. I think there's one over here as well. I don't want to go too far into this because this is clearly where the murderer is. And obviously there's no like interactivity. Actually, as we wander out here, yeah, you can see kind of like there's the boundaries. And we wander over to this and like we can't open this door. And obviously if we wander like too far outside of the bounds of the splat, we kind of, exit essentially the world, which actually is kind of cool in its own sort of right. If you actually do find yourself completely lost, you can just hit the 0 key and that'll take you right back to your starting point. So look, while there are some limitations, you guys know me, friction is like gasoline for creativity because there is a ton of stuff that you can do with Marble. And we're gonna talk about all that in just a minute, but first, let's take a look at a project I put together with World Labs.
Shift work begins in one rotation. Shift work begins in one rotation. Shift work begins.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm up.
Compliance acknowledged. Next sleep in 17 hours.
People always think working on a station is so adventurous. It's really not. The food is terrible, we never get to sleep, and
shift work begins in 1/2 rotation.
I sleep in my clothes and put up with that voice all the time. But you know what? For this view, it's all worth it.
Shift work begins in 1/4 rotation.
Oh yeah? How many rotations until the coffee maker is fixed?
So yeah, there you go, a consistent character in a consistent location. And that solves a lot of issues with AI filmmaking. And if you're wondering about like chaining rooms together for much larger environments, we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But first, let's do a quick breakdown on how that short film was made right after a quick word from today's sponsor, Storyblocks. Given that this is a channel that covers the bleeding edge of...
Listen how much water I drank. Wow, that's really cool, dude. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
What up, Shanna?
AI video, you might be wondering how today's sponsor, Storyblocks, comes into play. And that is a valid question.
I am going to watch this ad because I like AI products and tools.
Because obviously a lot of people have been quick to proclaim the death of stock footage now that AI can generate video and imagery at the level it does. But honestly, that is not the case. I use stock footage all the time on this channel, especially to experiment with video-to-video features. But that's the thing with Storyblocks, is that it's not just images and video. Actually, here's a little secret. I am fairly terrible with After Effects. I think like a lot of you, I know just enough to get myself into trouble. So one massive time saver for me is to utilize the huge library of After Effects templates that are available on Storyblocks. You can take some AI generated shots, say if you're trying to do a title sequence or maybe even like a sizzle reel, and utilizing one of these templates, you very quickly have a polished sequence that looks like it took days to build. And it's not just After Effects. Storyblocks also has templates for Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and Apple Motion. But if you do work in the Adobe ecosystem, you can access the entire Storyblocks library right inside your workflow with their Creative Cloud plugin. And here's the big one. With Storyblocks, you get unlimited downloads of diverse, high-quality media for one predictable subscription cost. That means HD, 4K, motion graphics, sound effects, and more without worrying about hidden fees. Plus, every download is royalty-free and pre-licensed in perpetuity, so you can stay focused on creating and not, double-checking legal clearances. As I've always said, the best AI films are a fusion of human creativity and generated material, and Storyblocks is the perfect bridge for that. My thanks to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's video. And you can actually get an extra 2 months for free with the annual plan for a limited time. Just click on that link down below. Moving on. So I put Alarm together in about 3 hours yesterday. I'm gonna kind of blaze through this walkthrough. If you have any questions on anything, just let me know in the comments. So I started by creating this environment in World Labs. This is actually one of their preset ones or templated ones. But I did actually, when the text prompting thing was working yesterday, it was kind of a janky mess, but I told it that the door opens up to like a space station city behind it. I didn't give it too many details, so it didn't really go too far with it. But so yes, you can modify your environments if you want to. From here, I basically just explored the environment, and when I found something that I thought would make for a cool shot, I just hit the little take screenshot button there, and boom, instant screenshot. And then you just kind of move on to the next angle of where you want to have a scene happening. Now, obviously, those screenshots do have that telltale Gaussian splat artifacting, kind of a low poly look. So the trick around that is to either use Nano Banana, Seedream, or Rev, which actually I looked at earlier this week. Rev handled it very easily, just with a prompt of clean this image up, make it look more cinematic. Once we had our location shots, it was really just a matter of bringing in our character. We've used her a couple of times on the channel recently. One quick note, I do highly recommend creating 360 turnaround videos of your characters. This stuff comes in really handy when you're bringing them into any one of the AI image editors at this point, namely because you can pause at any point in time, and now you have a reverse angle shot that you can screenshot or export or whatever to bring into your environment. Having a back angle was pretty clutch for a shot like this. Two quick follow-up notes on Rev. Something that I missed in the last video is there's actually this edit button up here after generation. It'll sort of segment out and then sub-segment out various areas within your image that you can edit. Essentially, if you just wanted, say, this bookshelf edited, you can reprompt for that. Or her hand is kind of a mess here. I like that it named her Catherine Waterston. I have no idea why, but obviously, we can actually target her left hand that way.
Somewhere in the multiverse, a Catherine Waterston was created simply to exist for this. And is stuck on a space platform, working shifts, getting sleep shifts 17 hours apart.
Way, essentially, it will only alter that part of the image. So kind of neat. And on the pricing, like free side of things, I talked to Christian Cantrell over there, who kind of clarified the policy on the free tier. Apparently, everybody gets a few hours of free usage when they sign up, and then the daily free usage after that is more like 15 minutes. To note, that's like GPU time, not like you don't have to like set a timer and then start prompting very quickly. From there, I took the images over to Google Flow and utilized VO3 for them. I mean, typical VO3, took a number of rolls to get what I was looking for. Most of these were run in VO3 quality, basically because I had a bunch of credits to burn through, so I figured we'd use them here. Once we had all of our material generated, I did a quick cut and then brought it over to Topaz's Astra for a precise and quality upscale, which I do think does a really good job of kind of taking out that like overall AI sharpness, I guess. Kind of like cleans up the image a pretty good amount and does a really good job with like, again, that kind of like overly blaring sharpness. And then for some final tricks, I ended up bringing the Topaz output back over to Premiere. I use Premiere. You can use whatever like nonlinear editor you want.
Wait, I'm given to understand that when people make stuff with AI, they just type in a quick prompt and it spits out an entire movie for them.
They all do the same thing. I added in a layer of dust and scratches. I mean, I don't even think anybody can see that. It's set to like, what's that, like 19%? So yeah, it's mostly there for my peace of mind. From there, I popped in a blue blurred highlight adjustment level here. Just kind of gives it that J.J. Abrams lens flare thing. I did keep it really subtle. Didn't want to go like full JJ on this one. From there, a slight camera blur. So this was set to 31%. The blend mode was set to lighten. And then it's at like a blur percentage of like 10%. So again, it's kind of just acting like Vaseline over the lens, kind of like helping like soften up that AI-ness. And then the last thing was just a good old vignette, because I like vignettes. Music was done in Suno, and well, I mean, to be honest, I got a little bit lazy at the end, and I did not swap out the voices like I told you all that you should in the 10 Secrets of AI Filmmaking video. Oh, you haven't seen that video? It's a good thing it's linked down below. And man, we are not even done yet. That is just the filmmaking side, because yeah, it gets crazier from here. It is a little above my pay grade, to be honest, but even if you don't completely understand the technical details, you will see the potential here. So because Marble can export as Gaussian splats, there's a ton of stuff you can do with it. For example, you could make a game in Three.js. Now this is something that probably all of us can accomplish even with non-technical skills, basically with a little like vibe coding assistance from ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or whatever. Moving up the ladder, well, you can bring it into Unreal and do all of your Unreal things to it. This one is definitely above my pay grade. But I think the 3D package that most of the viewers of this channel are probably familiar and gravitate towards is, of course, Blender. So, you can bring the splat in, clean up all of your Gaussian splats in Blender, do all of your Blender stuff. Now, as for creating bigger environments like multi-room locations, well, again, like 3D is not my world, but Britannia Natali showcases here, utilizing Poser, interestingly, that, we have these like 4 locations, essentially. These are marble worlds. And again, utilizing Poser, we can kind of like line each of these locations up, export the whole thing out. And now you have this like multi-room location that you can wander around in. Yeah, that's pretty insane. And finally, for the higher-ended tech folks, you might be wondering, this would be really cool in VR. Well, you know what? You can export as VR. You know what the whole thing kind of reminds me of? Did you guys see the Black Mirror episode Eulogy, the one with Paul Giamatti, where I
did not. Spoiler.
Kind of walks through old photos from his life. Yeah, it's a bit like that. So once again, I
still haven't seen the latest season of fucking Black Mirror. There are certain shows that kind of fall into the category of I watch with my wife and we are just so far behind everything.
Kind of proving we do live in a Black Mirror episode. That said, this was one of the more heartfelt ones, so it isn't all like doom and gloom. Ultimately, what's awesome about all of this is there's just a lot of different ways to approach World Labs Marble, and that's super exciting. Everything from my like bonehead 2D kit bashing methods to full-on 3D software packages. And yes, you can start playing with it today. Now, I am in the beta, and I believe that allows me to create environments. Sign up for that, but in the meantime, while you're waiting, you can essentially come and use any one of these environments that are here. The creations that I made, I will actually share publicly. Those will be linked down in the description. So if you want to play with those, more than welcome. In the meantime, there are a ton of environments here, and definitely varied enough that you can essentially make like almost any kind of like short film that you wanted to accomplish. And in the meantime, just get an idea of what the model is capable of and what it is not capable of. And again, not to harp on this, but remember, limitations are invitations to get creative. Look, the way that everything's going anyhow, the current limitations won't be around for very long. Instead, we'll have an entirely new set of limitations that we're gonna have to try to figure out. I mean, that is the gig. So yeah, go head over to World Labs, play around with Marble, sign.
If this kind of thing is interesting to you, I highly recommend following Tim's channel. And there's also the links. Tim is really good about providing links to all the stuff that he shows on any of his videos. Tim's pretty great.
Up for the beta waitlist. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Up next, Luma AI. This is Ray 3.
When you close your eyes, what do you see? When we talk about reality, how do you know what is real? Or what is simply your imagination? Now open your eyes.
But it's all soulless.
This AI technique can do something absolutely insane. This video transformation is already good, but you will see that it is even better than it seems. The basis of this is an image-to-video model that is free for all of us. You specify a starting image and it continues it. And 4 things really caught my eye here. 1, it can generate plausible motion for the duck. Amazing. The legs are a bit weird, but amazing. Waving and smiling children. This is incredibly realistic. And don't forget, once again, this is a model for free for all of us. No $300 monthly subscriptions or anything like that. They might also be offering some API access. I don't know. I am not affiliated with them in any way. 2, it also handles dramatic lighting changes with incredible accuracy. 3, camera movement is not a problem, which is just insane. Just think about it. You specified this image, and as the camera moves, it has to imagine what the world would be like around it. I still have a hard time processing that computers can do that today.
Same.
We taught sand to think.
We taught sand to think.
What a time to be alive! And don't forget about these guys. I mean, if I see something like that, I'm thinking, did I forget to pay back that loan for a new GPU? And now, look, interaction with the environment and a bit of simulation during running. And that is what really sparked my interest, because you can combine this with this incredible control model. What is that? Well, your video goes in and it comes out reimagined, but with a twist, because this time that sand can be reimagined as water. Oh my goodness, look at that. Loving this. Fantastic idea. It looks a bit AI-ish, but one more paper down the line and that's gone too. I am sure of that. Okay, so semantic changes. These are athletes with fencing swords, right? Not anymore. This is Master Roshi with golf clubs. Or they can be lightsabers too. Absolutely amazing. You can also let your imagination run wild by story nightifying yourself and your environment to make those dance moves pop a little more. Or this. This is low-key amazing, recreating the world from a muddy mess into a winter wonderland. I love how it makes it more believable by making it snow as well. Very subtle, very effective. And you can even become a completely different character as well. Video game characters, not a problem, although the results are far from perfect. Or reading a research paper and feeling like a king because you finally understand it, not a problem. Or if you don't like the lighting on the planet you just created, you can also fix that with just one prompt as well. Absolutely incredible. Wow. And hold on to your papers, fellow scholars, because it generates 5 seconds of video in 2 seconds on one H100 graphics card. Yes, that is faster than you can watch it. Faster than real-time stuff. Wow! Speechless. It's like a chef cooking a 5-course meal while you're still reading the menu. So, why? How is that even possible? Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. Dr. Carol. Well, the paper reveals that it uses a 1 to 192 spatiotemporal compression variational autoencoder with 128 latent channels.
Those are definitely words.
So, simpler, it takes a video and squashes it down to a much smaller, more efficient version, keeping only the most important information, so the AI has to process far fewer pieces, making it much faster. Also, it operates at a 1 to 8,000 pixels to tokens ratio. That is 4 times fewer tokens than typical setups. With this, the cost of attention drops a lot, so you can afford full spatiotemporal attention. It's a bit like compressing a messy 8-lane grocery line into one express checkout. So, really advanced paper with technical details, but here, in simple words, anyone can understand. And finally, it uses less than 2 billion parameters before distillation, which is absolutely crazy. This could maybe even run on a higher-end phone in your pocket. That is a very, very modest size, and that usually comes with modest performance. But not here. Here, great performance for a modest size. Loving it. Absolutely incredible work. And the even more incredible part is that this is available for free for all of us right now. So with that, don't forget to like, leave a kind comment and subscribe, and let the experiments begin. On November 4th and 5th in London, the Weights and Biases Fully Connected Conference returns. Yes, join top AI engineers for 2 days of agent building and model training.
Up next,
it's a fantastic
ChatGPT makes a
for
movie.
networking and learning. Perfect
There's a
for
theme.
AI developers,
Have you picked up the
researchers,
theme?
And business leaders. Yes, that is you, fellow scholars. And here's the best part. You can get tickets at 20% off. Just click the link in the video description and use the code to claim your discount today.
Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with something that will seem to many to be a completely natural evolution and totally expected, and which will for others be everything wrong with the world that we are heading into. The TLDR is that OpenAI is backing a feature film in hopes of showcasing the promise of AI filmmaking tools. The movie is called Critters with a Z, and is, according to the Wall Street Journal, about forest creatures who go on an adventure after their village is disrupted by a stranger. Now, the movie actually has OpenAI origins. Chad Nelson, who is a creative specialist at OpenAI, started sketching out the characters a few years ago while trying to make a short film with OpenAI's original DALL-E image generation model. That short used AI for character and background design, but used regular methods for voice acting and animation. Now the goal is a feature-length film, and with the help of a pair of animation studios, Nelson hopes to debut the film at next year's Cannes Film Festival. The goal is to complete the movie in 9 months, which is significantly shorter than the more typical around 3-year production time for similar types of animated films. They're also working with a comparatively modest $30 million budget. The goal is to leverage the full suite of OpenAI's models and really put them on display in a professional setting. Said Nelson, OpenAI can say what its tools do all day long, but it's much more impactful if someone does it. That's a much better case study than me building a demo. Now, details are a little scarce on exactly what is going to be AI and what is not. The plan appears to be to cast human actors for character voices, as well as to hire human artists to draw sketches that are then fed into OpenAI's tools. How much of the video will be actually generated by AI, it isn't clear. And part of why it's unclear is that the team behind it just doesn't know all these things yet. James Richardson, the co-founder of production studio Vertigo Films, who are working with Nelson on the movie, said, quote, "I have never been in this position in my life where we are starting a movie and I have no idea what's about to happen. It's a very ambitious, massive experiment." I think investor Hirsch Desai makes an important point when he writes, "I really hope the Critters team doesn't lean into the AI angle here. The bar isn't, this was good for an AI-generated movie, but this was a good movie. People care about the output, not what tools you used."
Wrong. People care about the tools you use in this current environment.
I think, in fact, if anything, Critters is going to face a higher threshold because of the latent skepticism that many people in the creative industry are going to have coming into this.
True.
The real win here would be to model how a full team of creative people can make a movie that they're really excited about, not in a way that replaces all of their jobs, but allows them to move much faster and show the possibility for more creative output.
And operate on a higher level, right? Like, imagine if you could, not necessarily saying that you could, but like, you know, with a $30 million budget, you could produce something operating on like the level of Avatar, right? Even if you didn't like Avatar, it was visually impressive.
Now, speaking of visual AI, Google VP Josh Woodward just gave an update post Nano Banana, and it looks to have been a wildly successful release. Woodward said that in the last 4 days, the Gemini app had added 13 million more first-time users and 300 million more images. I think between this and OpenAI's breakout Studio Ghibli trend, image generation appears to be a powerful onboarding tool for consumer adoption. And this makes sense, right? Social media is driven by easy-to-consume visual imagery, and so those outputs of AI would go more viral than comparable text prompts. The next thing to watch, I think, given all this, is what happens when Meta releases a competent AI assistant with Midjourney built in natively. Next up, let's move over to some big deal stories, starting with a huge one in the Neo cloud space. Microsoft has signed a $17.4 billion deal with AI cloud provider Nebius. The deal will run over 5 years and is the first deal anywhere close to this size for the company. In fact, Nebius right now only has a market cap of about $15 billion, meaning that the deal is larger than their entire company's value. The market cap has tripled over the past year, but they're still only a third of the size of CoreWeave. This makes their deal with Microsoft even more impressive. Now, on Microsoft's side, the deal seems to indicate that Microsoft is quite happy continuing to be a renter rather than an owner of AI infrastructure. You might remember that back in the first quarter of this year, there was a huge news cycle around Microsoft canceling construction plans and dropping some of their data center leases. Their CFO insisted that this was just tinkering at the margins and didn't meaningfully impact the company's plans. Still, the stories drove a ton of concern that Microsoft were stepping back AI infrastructure because it was being overbuilt. Fast forward 6 months, and the infrastructure build-out has only accelerated while GPU shortages have only gotten worse.
Ed, care to comment?
Whether they're renting it or building it, this deal definitely suggests that Microsoft foresees a lot of continuing demand for AI compute over the short term, and that they are willing to pay up in order to service it. Shanu Mathew wrote, "Huge validation of the AI NeoCloud model too. CoreWeave and Nebius clearly have value, and compute is constrained if hyperscalers continue to sign new deals with them." Continuing on the deals theme, Databricks is set to close their latest round of fundraising at $100 billion, and as they do so, have reported $4 billion in annualized revenue. Revenue at the company is up 50% from the
Ed, care to comment?
Prior year, with AI-related sales contributing $1 billion to the total. CEO Ali Ghodsi said that the company had positive free cash flow over the past 12 months and expects to continue operating profitably from here. He commented that, quote, "The vast majority of our costs go to wages, and it's definitely expensive to spend on AI talent." Now, one little subnote for this. In and around the AI bubble talk, one of the concerns that you will hear is the concern that people have that AI startups are just cash incinerators with no hope of justifying the expense of AI revenue. Some people picked up this story, for example, from The Information, which claimed that AI startups were generating around $15 billion in revenue. They noted the huge gap between that and the trillions of dollars in infrastructure spending forecast in the coming years. Those figures, however, didn't include the big tech hyperscalers who are growing at around 30% since the AI wave took off. They also don't include this additional $1 billion from Databricks, which has transformed into one of the largest AI startups without fitting the same mold as OpenAI or Anthropic. The point here is that there is lots and lots of AI revenue that isn't being captured in the alarmist headlines, and that is growing incredibly quickly. Speaking of which, audio generation startups 11 Labs have made a tender offer to staff, allowing them to sell stock at a $6.6 billion valuation. Up to $100 million in liquidity is available, with staff working at the startup for at least a year able to access the offer. The secondary round will be led by Iconic and Sequoia, with participation from Andreessen Horowitz. This round would double their last valuation received in January. CEO Maddie Staniszewski said, "Earlier this year, we surpassed $200 million in ARR, and we expect to top $300 million by year end. We're also rapidly approaching a 50-50 revenue split between our enterprise and self-serve customers, with enterprise revenue having grown more than 200% in the last year." Now, he then goes on to laud all the employees that they are giving liquidity to. But the thing I wanted to hone in on here, just given the themes of what we were just talking about a moment ago with Databricks, is once again the fact that revenue is growing extremely quickly across so many different AI startups. Maddie said the company will be at $300 million by the end of the year, meaning about $150 million of that will be enterprise, which is serious numbers for a startup that's just a few years old. Now, shifting gears one more time to the policy side, Anthropic is endorsing a new AI safety bill out of California. If you were listening last summer, you probably heard me talk a lot about SB 1047. It was California's first big attempt to regulate the AI industry, and there was a ton of antagonism towards the bill.
Honestly, Pharaoh, zero chance, right? Let's be real. Not even because I'm a tiny little guy and he's a decent sized guy and he's appearing on TV, etc. It's the idea of allowing his ideas to be challenged. I have yet to see Ed Zitron go anywhere other than the places where he can just spew his nonsense without challenge, right? At worst, he gets support. No, I'd say at worst he gets neutral, but he doesn't get challenged. The closest he came to be challenged was that one guy who said, "Could you steal man your or no, like he challenged him on something else, and Ed was like, what do you mean?" Like he was prepared to fight the guy over whatever, and then he fucking danced off in his conversation. And it's like, fuck you, Ed.
SB 1047 was ultimately passed by the California legislature, but vetoed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Part of the logic was that a patchwork of state laws would be untenable, so it was better to wait for federal legislation. However, almost a year since the veto, we've seen no indication that Washington will move forward with legislation, changing the calculus for some about state-level governance.
Probably.
According to Anthropic, the new bill, SB 53, aims to cover much of the same ground as SB 1047. However, they claim it does so through, quote, disclosure requirements rather than the prescriptive technical mandates that plagued last year's efforts. The stated focus of the bill is on preventing AI models from contributing to catastrophic risks, which it defines as the death of at least 50 people or $1 billion in damage. The bill is expected to go to a vote sometime this month, and while the AI lobby and companies are fighting it, the opposition does seem a bit more muted than the fight around SB 1047. Could this then be a compromise that everyone can live with? Well, interestingly, former Trump AI advisor and chief opponent of SB 1047, Dean Ball, said, in SB 53, the drafters have shown respect for technical reality, mostly reasonable intellectual humility appropriate to an emerging technology, and a measure of legislative restraint. Whether you agree with the substance or not, I believe all of this is worthy of applause. Now then again, people are just starting to take notice of this, so maybe the noise around it starts to get louder. We'll just have to wait and see. And lastly, there was one interesting little nugget in America's annual defense bill, caught by Jacob Krause, who writes, America's annual defense bill might establish a temporary artificial general intelligence steering committee comprised of military officials. Jacob continues, one responsibility for the committee would be analyzing the military applications and implications of artificial general intelligence for the Department of Defense. AGI is defined as artificial intelligence capable systems with the potential to match or exceed human intelligence across most cognitive tasks, distinct from narrow artificial intelligence systems designed for specific tasks in defined domains. Said Carnegie Fellow John Bateman, some might say this is just another committee or report. Actually, it's a smart way to force the people who would need to respond to and or shape AGI to proactively think about it and talk with each other sooner and more frequently.
Is there audio on the video because we can't hear? What are you talking about? You really couldn't hear that? Oh, that's on your end. Check your shit.
Now, if you've ever followed the evolution of a big must-pass bill like this one, you will know why it's probably...
I'm going to say, not that you can hear me probably, but Twitch. Shut it down. Oh, the sound driver crashed? Okay. But yeah, Twitch has been janky as fuck lately. Okay. So I've been talking about Alien Earth, and there might be some spoilers in this next video. But I want to watch it. So consider this your warning.
Not worth spending too much time and attention on this just yet, but still I think it's interesting and something I'm certainly going to keep an eye on. With that, however, let's shift over to the main episode.
Alien has always been a story about... Go on, take a guess. The alien, the xenomorph, the terrifying other, the non-human. Alien Earth is a story about the alien finally arriving on Earth and fighting it out with humanity 2.0. Cyborgs, synths, and hybrids. If Alien was a story about the non-human, Alien Earth is a story about the post-human. Watching Marcy become Wendy, we're in the territory of characters like Motoko, the Major Kusanagi of Ghost in the Shell, Altered Carbons, Takeshi Kovacs, and Battle Angel Alita. Humans who have transcended the human to the post-human. But as we watch the bleak process of killing a girl so a facsimile of her mind can inhabit a new synthetic body, all the questions that haunt the post-human haunt us. Is a copied mind state real or just a copy? Is killing the original murder or just like deleting a backup? Is the new post-human human
She's not human
at all?
And
what even is human? But as the imagery of Peter Pan flashes past, Alien Earth hints at an answer we maybe haven't heard before, that the human dream of transcending beyond pain and suffering to the near immortality offered by post-humanity, beyond the reality of being just food, is just a fantasy. A fantasy that the super rich and powerful have. A fantasy that the super rich.
I didn't watch the most recent episode, but this fucking thing is by far the most terrifying thing in the show. Scarier than the human, scarier than the cyborg, scarier than the synth, scarier than the alien, all of that. This fucking thing is terrifying.
And powerful have always wanted to make real. The first emperor of China, as he grew old, sought the secret of immortality, eventually drinking mercury, a well-known health tonic. Watching 40-something Brian Johnson trying to not die, 50-something Elon Musk seeking the technology to upload consciousness, and 70-somethings Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping trading tips on harvesting the organs of political dissidents to stay in power forever. We realize that for our mentally deranged billionaire oligarch dictator class, the post-human future and the ideology of transhumanism are a reality they are determined to bring about. Alien Earth places the delusional, hyper-privileged human elite at the core of the story. telling us about the 5 corporations competing to own the post-human future and showing us 2 competing oligarchs, the Yutani in Wayland Yutani and the Kid Cavalier behind Prodigy. Who wants to live forever? Rich people. Who pays the price? As we watch a starship crash into Earth so a mental cyborg can deliver an alien sample to the oligarchs who want its secrets. As here on real Earth we keep being told this AI tech could destroy us all, but we have to keep building it so shareholder value won't suffer. It's clear the answer to who pays is us. And Alien Earth is also about a massive, epic build-up to a kick-ass battle. Here are your well-known xenomorphs, acid blood, stabby jaws, etc. We know these pretty well by now. And here are your hybrids, super-powered synthetic bodies housing the minds of kids who feel no fear because they've already died once. The build-up to the inevitable aliens versus hybrids fight fest is about 53% of the joy of watching Alien Earth. Add in a bad motherfucker cyborg, a brother in need of saving, and the Roy Batty you buy on Temu.
Your lives were short and filled with fear. That's what it is to be an animal.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Yes, Alien Earth does seem to be the unification of Ridley Scott's 2 sci-fi masterpieces. And you get the best thing in the alien mythos since Aliens, which proves that Hollywood can still make art, not IP slop, when the showrunner can actually write. Alien is a great horror movie set in space with sci-fi trimmings, but Dan O'Bannon's excellent world building gave just enough sense of a universe beyond the Nostromo, Wayland Yutani Corp, the space jockey, to tantalize audiences. Aliens is the best action movie ever set in a sci-fi future. It gave us pulse rifles, colonial marines, and a few more hints of the larger universe. Alien 3 is more maligned than it deserves. David Fincher is one of only a few directors you could credibly rate up there with Ridley Scott and James Cameron. And then the Alien mythos, well, went full IP slop. Honestly, I'd forgotten Alien
But I love it all.
Resurrection existed until I said the words just now. Probably because a Joss Whedon script and the director of Amelie are about as in space no one can hear you scream as they sound. Romulan.
I mean, Alien 4 was not a good movie. I'm not going to defend it as it's a modern classic or anything, but it was fucking wild, dude. And it had what's his name in it, and who's her face, and the other guy, and it was just fucking.
And the 2 Alien versus Predator slop fests finished the job of turning the Alien mythos into just another corporate entertainment franchise.
What up, Stoudman? No, the guy who played Ron Perlman. Not the guy who played Ron Perlman, but actual Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman's in Alien 4, dude. Got Ron Perlman in it. It's got that horrifying. The scene at the end when the alien dies by going through a hole this big. Come on.
But before this, there was The Return of the Creator. Ridley Scott's Prometheus and Alien Covenant aren't bad movies, but they revealed...
And Fassbender? Like, I understand that people don't like Prometheus and Covenant, but Fassbender fucking amazing, dude. Fucking amazing.
Something uncomfortable. Ridley Scott may be a genius director, but his science fiction ideas are old. Psychopath aliens, sociopath corporations, the universe as Hobbesian war of all against all. It's all a bit science fiction 101. So by 2025, Alien felt like a dead mythos, so I had no earthly reason to watch Alien Earth. Until I saw it was written and directed by one-man televisual juggernaut, Noah Hawley. But
Noah Hawley is great. I think I'm correct on this. Legion was such a fantastic show. If you haven't seen Legion, I highly recommend it. It's weird, but like, look, 8.1 on IMDb, 8.1 on Prime, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is fantastic. It was weird, but it's the kind of show you just got to strap in and go along for the ride. It's really good. Don't think of it as an X-Men thing. It's totally isolated. Yes, it's weird and creepy, beautifully directed. The music is fantastic. Everything about it is fantastic.
of course, no good TV show goes.
And then that. Ever since Park and Rec. Ever since Parks and Rec.
Unpunished. Alien Earth scored a 93% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, but that barrage of one-star reviews dragging the user score down to 73% are from the usual contingent of angry nerd bros squawking "woke, woke, woke" like brain-damaged parrots. The same people who think the critical drinker is actually a movie critic and complain that all movies today are written by children, can't recognize good writing when it's playing on the second screen because they're too busy watching their girlfriend on OnlyFans. So the angry nerd bros have completely missed that Alien Earth is what happens when the showrunner can actually write. Back in the day, successful TV producers were really just ideas men. Stephen Bochco, the powerhouse behind Hill Street Blues, LA Law, NYPD Blue, and Doogie Howser, MD, would devise characters, settings, and episode ideas, then hand over writing chores to a whole team of screenwriters. This was the era of network TV, with at least 24 or more episodes in a season and no overarching plot. With each episode a standalone drama, TV could operate as a production line, producing content to maximize ad revenue. As first the DVD box set, then streaming platforms moved from ad revenue to subscriber revenue, the network format of 24+ episodes was replaced by the prestige format of 10 to 14 episodes, telling one continuous story. Network format TV could be written by teams of good or even mediocre writers. Prestige format TV only works when you have great writers. The reason shows like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, The Wire, Mad Men, Succession, or Severance are so great is because of great writers. So the first thing to look at when assessing any new TV show is, who is the writer? And the writer of Alien Earth is Noah Hawley. There is a 1992 novel titled Alien Earth by Megan Lindholm, better known as fantasy novelist Robin Hobb, but it's unrelated to this TV show. Noah Hawley came to widespread attention with the idiosyncratic choice to bring Fargo to the small screen, Joel and Ethan Coen's classic.
I enjoyed Fargo, the TV show. I don't know if I could recommend it to people. I'd say it's the kind of thing where you give it a shot and see if it's for you, and if not, don't worry about it and just walk away. But I liked it.
Crime movie seems like a strange choice to reboot as a TV show, but has been a huge hit. A success.
And I had no idea it was Noah Hawley.
Built on the writing skills of.
And it's got a lot of weird, you see the actor and you're like, why are you in this? And then you see why they're in that.
Noah Hawley, who penned a staggering 48 out of 51 episodes across 5 seasons. The 3 seasons of Legion, based on legendary comic book writer Chris Claremont's character of the same name, also saw Hawley pen 19 out of 27 episodes.
It was both guys from Key and Peele.
Legion is also really good, but Hawley's decision to make the character an unreliable narrator meant it needed a high level of attention to follow what was actually happening. A similar problem as the much maligned Acolyte, which dumbfounded second screen audiences with the same unreliable narrator technique. So at a time when Disney and others are cranking out low-quality TV shows from unskilled writers to milk old sci-fi franchises of any remaining shareholder value, the only reason to feel optimistic about a new sci-fi streaming show is if it has a really good writer. Andor had Tony Gilroy. Alien Earth has Noah Hawley. Is it the new Andor? That remains to be seen. But Noah Hawley's Alien Earth at least has something to say about humanity. Post-humanity.
See? I have Hulu as part of a discount version Verizon package. Same. I can't stand the ads, so I never watch Hulu. Same. The only time I watch it is when I'm doing something else. So, I was watching The Bear, and, I'd watch, and then commercial time, and then I'd be back on the computer. Watch, commercial time, back on the computer. But yeah, Alien Earth is so good, I also just deal with the commercials.
In the first 15 minutes of Alien Earth, Episode 1, Noah Hawley rehearses first Alien, as we see a crew much like the Nostromos going through the same xenomorph encounter. Then aliens, as yet more colonial marines run to their inevitable deaths. But it's the way Hawley reframes the central theme of Alien that is truly new.
It used to be food, humanity. Your lives were short and filled with fear. You built impossible machines and went to space. You stopped being food. Or, I should say, you told yourself you weren't food anymore.
This monologue and the scene that follows are trademark Hawley. This could be Lorne Malvo meeting Lester Nygaard. 2 characters, a bitter realist and a delusional optimist, a killer and an innocent, offering 2 different takes on the story's central theme. Humans have always had dreams and fantasies that we can be something other than food. or in the case of aliens, something other than the meat substrate for the xenomorph reproductive cycle. We fantasized of being gods and heroes, wielding magical powers or powerful weapons, of being immortal or reincarnated, of having a soul that can escape the flesh that is food. Posthumanism is the latest, most potent iteration of these fantasies. Old dreams reimagined in the new symbolism of sci-fi. In place of an immortal soul, we are the bearers of infinitely replicable data structures that can be copied from our brain like a program from a hard drive and installed on a new body. A better, stronger, faster body. Cyborgs, synths and hybrids would be monsters, demons and angels in ages past. But to us today, post-human ideas of cybernetic implants, android bodies or digital consciousness occupy the space of science fiction. Things that never happen, but feel like they could happen. Posthumanism is a fantasy made real enough for us to believe. The Lost Boys are maybe the most important symbols in fantasy. J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan is an escapist fantasy that leads readers, young and old, to a moral lesson about escapist fantasy. Like the Lost Boys, you can escape into fantastic adventures and fight Captain Hook for eternity, but at the cost of your humanity. Lost Boys never die, but they also never live. So Wendy and the Lost Hybrids seem likely to deliver us a similar moral message as Peter Pan. Our oligarchs can enjoy the fantasy of post-human immortality to their heart's content until the stabby jaws of mortal human reality call time on them too. In fact, everything science has shown us in this century agrees that dreams of post-humanity are just fantasies. Cognitive science proves that we are not an abstract data pattern running on a grey goo computer to animate a meat machine. We cannot be infinitely copied, uploaded or downloaded to a synth superbody. We are our bodies. We are meat. We are food. What happens when a showrunner can actually write? You get Alien Earth, a show that from the word go inverts the core theme of the alien mythos. Alien has always been a story of the external threat to humanity from the alien other. Noah Hawley makes
like there are a lot of other themes that play out in those movies, and I don't know that I completely agree with Damien on that one, right? Like just about the external threat. The external threat is there and it's a thing, but there are a lot of themes, especially themes of like motherhood and things like that. Like that if you watch the movies with that media literacy critical eye, that you extract these ideas out of it. And yes, the alien is part of it, but you know, there is so much going on. And that like every time you rewatch it, you get a deeper level.
Alien Earth, a story about the inner threat to humanity of our post-human fantasies of escaping being human. We get to watch the newest incarnation of our super-powered post-humanity selves fulfilling our fantasy of being more than food, up against the ultimate modern symbol of our
And I think a bunch of that, like, if you haven't seen the Aliens director's cut, where there's like more about the fact that Ripley had a kid, and things like that, like some of that stuff ends up getting lost in that translation. You know what I mean?
Foodiness, and briefly enjoy the post-human fantasy before seeing it literally torn apart. Alien Earth is the latest in post-humanity. Learn about the first post-human
It totally, like, I mean, like Ripley was just a good person who cared about Newt. No, it was Newt was her surrogate daughter. Right? There was a whole thing that got lost in that
fantasy here.
All right, we are going to save the rest of this for tomorrow. I have some things to attend to. Fantastic job by Damien, though. There were very little, if any, spoilers in that. Top notch. Great job, Damien, as always. Really glad we found that channel. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them we are Froopers. Where are we going, Froopers? Where are we going, Froopers? Near. We are the Froopin' Chat. We are the Froopin' Chat. Maple takes? Okay. I will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern to do more of this. And if you enjoyed this, you should come back. What up, people? What up, Joey John? Daughter died 2 years before they found her. Yeah, she left her daughter to go on the Nostromo thing and like all that, right? She lost that having a child experience because in order to make money, and then it got extended because the Nostromo accident and all that. Also read the comic books. The comic books are fantastic and build on it. And there's a whole aliens on Earth kind of thing. I highly recommend it. I'll be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, which is already in progress. And in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you've forgotten. Always remember that Chuggy loves you. So do I. Be great.